Crushing the meta.
Alright, what's going on everyone? A big welcome to you all to our channel. We are back with Glacian, and he finally did it.
Completed a box full of Genesis decks. And
Yep.
today we'll be discussing the third one, which is Regalia.
Right, so what are the four decks that you
The four decks are in order: Artemis, Amaruta, Regalia, and a special new Fernrir build.
Right, so because you guys already have seen Fernrir or know about Fernrir, I would link the video for you guys to watch that as well. And today we're doing Minerva with the new support from set 14, and after that, after we play teams, I think that we will we will put the Fernrir secret deck online for you guys to watch and enjoy. If you really want to know, and we get maybe enough comments and reactions, then we'll definitely try to give you some hints. All right. So yeah, let's just jump through the deck and explain some of the newer cards.
There we go.
So some people would think, well, Minerva, it's a pretty good fun deck. It's not that strong. Well, whoa.
It's actually really strong right now. It's incredibly fast paced and it's really good. I really enjoy it. For this occasion, we have my special Genesis mat. I'll put a link in the description below to the designer who did a great job on this. For now, let's just look at the deck. First off, we have the new starter. The starter is called the Regalia of Daytime Angel. Her skill is quite simple and, well, apart from being simply the only useful forerunner for Regalia, she's also quite good. She is a counterblast one, put her in the soul, and you get to check the top 3 cards, and put one in the soul, 2 in the drop zone, which is kind of Regalia's thing, and if it is a Regalia card that goes into the soul, you get to draw 1 card, which the Regalia deck should be all the time. Next we have 4 vanilla crits. They're in there because they have Regalia in the name, and we're going for a full-out Regalia build. Everything in this deck needs to be including Regalia. That's basically the idea of it. So yeah, vanilla crit, not much to say there. Then we have the new crit, which is one of Genesis' best crits, period. The Regalia crit is incredibly strong. Her skill is when you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, you can put her in the soul for plus 3000. If you have a face-up card in your G-Zone, she also lets you draw a new card, which is an incredibly efficient card to use and gets you to the soul that you need, gets you some power. And yeah, if you play against Genesis, you're going to see this crit because it's currently the best crit we have. Alright, next up is the new heal, which thankfully is a Regalia card, which was pretty much expected from the start, but Regalia of Surface Ire, she has been a heal before, and she's back as our new, well, the new heal, the counter charge, soul charge heal. Very interesting card, very strong of course, because, you know, it's Ire, she gets you the soul you want, or the counter charges. Then we have one of the very few old cards that this deck actually runs, and that's the old stand triggers. Now you don't really need a lot of stand triggers in Regalia, so why would you bother? Well, this stand trigger has the skill that when it gets Soul Blast, you get to give 5000 power to a Regalia unit. And with the combos, that is exceptionally strong, and with the resource management Regalia has, you usually get to use this card a lot. So early guard with it, abuse it in your soul, and yeah, you'll be fine. Alright, then we come to the more exciting cards. First off is the brand new Perfect Guard. The Regalia Perfect Guard. A very interesting Perfect Guard that has the skill to recycle itself, which was something Genesis was sorely lacking. The Perfect Guard lets you recycle itself a new Soul Blast one, and there's a copy of it in the drop zone. You get to bind one and get one back to your hand. A mechanic kind of similar to the sister PG in Dark Irregulars, but that's the only slight difference, that you have to Soul Blast this one instead of an Act skill from the drop zone. So it suits Genesis' theme better, and you can actually recycle her quite easy because of it. Then we have the new Regalia Strike Flutter. Well, you should not have to really explain this card. Search the grade 3 that you want, or use it as a Strike Flutter, because it's a Strike Flutter. That's what it does. The nice thing is, of course, it has Regalia in the name, and it searches Regalia. That's its strong point. Next up is possibly the most important grade 1 in the entire deck. This card, Regalia of Amnesty, Expel Angel, makes people very, very upset because she keeps recycling free cards from your drop zone back into your deck. You get to draw a card and she gets more power. And she does that without being GB. She recycles the entire deck. She makes it so that you won't go deck out. And that's why she's so important. She allows you to guard very heavily. She allows you to go all in aggressively, to soul blast a lot. That's why Regalia has most problems with retire clans, because they will target her. They will try to kill her. As long as you have 3 of these in your back row, that's kind of part of your winning image, really. Next we have another tricky G1. This is Regalia of Brewing Bennu. And Regalia of Brewing Bennu is a very clever card that lets you mill off your deck right from the start. Whenever this card is placed or right on, you can check the top 2, soul charge 1, drop zone 1, and that's all he really does. But for a Genesis deck, that's really important. I really like this grade 1. The grade 2s.
Keep in mind, guys, as Glacian already said, most of the skills are not even GB restricted. So you're just gonna flip your field, attack with everything, rush your opponent if you want to, and kill them all on the first try. Because definitely most people would just underestimate this deck, and that's when you get them.
It has a pretty bad reputation from before, but people underestimate the amazing amount of support it has gotten. So be on your guard for that. Next up is another card that actually starts doing things pre-GB, but does have a GB skill. This is a card that was originally made as a Legion card, and on popular demand made a comeback as Regalia of Abundance Freya. Now what Freya does is when she's placed, when you have a grade 3 Regalia of Vanguard, you counterblast 1, you pick 2 cards from your drop zone, put them back into your soul, and you draw a new card. That's all you do. But that's so efficient. To recycle 2 soul and draw a card is amazing. She also has a neat little combo with especially Minerva, but any Regalia Stripe. Her skill allows her to get 3,000 power each time a Regalia Vanguard attacks. And, well, seeing as Minerva's whole thing is restanding, she can get 6k power off of Minerva's attacks, which is kind of amazing. Next up is a really annoying early game card. People don't like this one. Another non-restricted skill is that this card can get 2,000 plus when attacking an enemy. Vanguard. And it makes her 11. An 11 attacker 2k before GB is something that's pretty hard to guard, especially if you go first turn. After that attack, she even soul charges herself, giving Regalia the soul charge it needs. Finally, GB1 skill is that when she gets soul blasted, she's allowed to give 3,000 power to another unit with Regalia in the name, which adds to the whole blast for power theme that Regalia's got going. Then we have another recycle unit, Regalia of Poem Brel. She's the only real card that is heavily GB restricted. She doesn't do anything until you stride, so you usually keep her in your hand. And what she does is she recycles up to 2 cards with Regalia in the name from drop zone to soul, and for each card recycled, she and your Vanguard get 3,000 power. So that makes her a 15k attacker and gives 6k power to your Vanguard. Then we have one of the other old cards that this deck actually runs.
50k attacker.
15.
A 15k attacker.
Regalia.
If it was a 50k attacker, well, that would be nice.
That would be really nice. Regalia of Fake Norn does the exact same thing as the stand trigger we saw earlier. She's just a grade 2 unit. Why do you run 4 of 6 of these? 4 of the trigger and 2 of these? Well, we'll see that soon. Next up, for the early rush theme and for sentimental reasons, we have 2 of the original Minerva. Now, it's not just sentimentally. If your opponent thinks he can best you by playing a grade 2 game, you throw this in their face. The original Minerva is one of the first restanding Vanguards on attack. Her skill is a limit break skill, which takes a counter blast, 3 soul blast, and you have to discard 2 cards from your hand, but you get a full restand, plus 5,000 power, and you don't lose any drive checks. Which, for its time, was pretty damn impressive, but even now it can create scary situations, especially if you have the right cards to soul blast. Don't underestimate this card. She's not just there because of sentimental reasons. She's actually a good option to write into. Next up, we have the main grade 3 of the deck, and that is Angelica. Angelica was originally, with the exact same name, like down to the last letter, another card from the Regalia series. That was the break right for Minerva. Now she's your main grade 3. She has an on-play skill which lets you instantly recycle a card from your drop zone and draw a new card. Then her counterblast skill on stride, she gets to look at the top 4 cards of the deck, soul charge 1, draw 1, and then mill the other 2. Which helps with Regalia's whole thinning out the deck and making the ideal situation. On top of that, this card still has a skill that says if you have her, because it's the exact same name, in the soul, she gets more power. So it's kind of nice to see that old knot that they gave her, and that's why they had her have exactly the same name. Really like that in her. She has not been disappointing so far. She's a really good Vanguard. Finally, we have the unique grade 3 of Regalia, which is usually used for your Minerva stride turn. This card simply says, when used to pay for a cost of a stride, it goes into the soul and gives your Vanguard 10,000 power. That is after striding, so the power does not immediately get wasted. Because of that, you just, when you think about your restanding Minerva, it's just a good setup and a good boost. You run 2 because, well, you only strike Minerva 2 times, so why would you run more? Alright, then we go to the G zone. Let's just start with the most important one. Minerva herself. Your whole deck is kind of teamed around this one. She is a restanding stride with very specific abilities. First of all her costs include blasting Regalia cards. Once you do the first skill, which is a once per turn, she gains 10,000 power and an extra drive. The second skill is GB3 restricted and costs you 6. And that's why we have 2 grade 2s and 4 of the stand triggers, because it's exactly the max amount she can blast at once. That gives her and then what that ability does, she does it on attack, and then after it says, after the attack is finished, you will restand all units on your field with Regalia in the name. This includes Minerva herself. She will then proceed to lose free drive, which means she gets to attack once more with 1 drive check. In total, she'll have 5 drive checks, and she will attack with an incredible amount of power. She is a devastating stride, and I really like what they did with her. At first, I wasn't too happy about her becoming a stride instead of a grade 3, because I really wanted to run a double grade 3 Minerva deck. But she turned out really cool, and I'm really happy with what she did with her.
Remember, guys, that remember, guys, that what they did with her was actually great because she also restand the rear guards.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think, well, okay, I need 2 PGs and I will stop the attack. But well, you also play stand triggers, so you could attack with your rear guards, then attack with her, then. And
that's also a part that's like what we discussed earlier. Freya is pretty much centered around her, because you will attack with Freya, Minerva will attack, Freya will get 3,000, then Minerva will restand, attack again, and Freya will have restanding also, and gets another 3,000. Which means that they practically, your Freyas will get 3 triggers of power, just because Minerva attacked. And the whole deck is centered around making that finishing move. But
thank God it's once per turn.
Thank God it is, because with the resources Regalia has, you could easily do it more often. That's why they restricted her so heavily. But of course, we have another incredible stride that, as a Genesis player, I'm very thankful for, and that is Muspel. Muscle is only a rare, and in my eyes, that's undeserved. She is easily like double rare value. She is incredibly strong. Muscle's skill, except for Athena, is the first one that lets you Soul Blast as much as you want. Like unrestricted to numbers or anything. You can just Soul Blast your entire soul out. And for each blast, you get to give 4,000 power to a unit. If you blasted at least 3 cards, you get to either countercharge or draw a card. Which, come on, you're never going to blast less than 3 cards. Otherwise, you're not playing Genesis. It's impossible.
Why do you play her at 4?
I play her at 4 because, for one, she's really good. Even if you don't need her 4 times. For 2, it's because there's no real other Genesis strides than the Genesis G-Guard cards that I have in my G-Zone. And I went for a full Genesis Regalia G deck. And really, you don't need anything else. You go her, usually first, right? Then 2 times Minerva. And that should be it. You should not, with the pressure...
You can't really play... let's say Fernrir, you don't need him in here. Ishtar, you can't really play her in here. So the only stride that you could play, like Doombrace or Tyr, they could help you out. But in most situations, she could be better. So why would you?
We also have the final stride, which is finally has actually received a lot of help from this set. Fear. Now, for those who don't know Earth yet, she's a very scary lady. When you place her, you get to count to charge all of your drop zone with Regalia and the name back into your deck. And when you stride her, you usually have a pretty big drop zone. Next up, and that's why she's now much more easier to play than she was, you need to have 2 face-up cards with Regalia in your G-Zone for her to use her second ability, which is an Act skill. Soul Blast 6 to gain 10,000 power and a crit. This is not once per turn.
Nope.
You can do this as many times as you want. If you know your opponent does not have a PG, or if you do have to fight after you strike both Minervas, she's still a pretty good option. She is a killer if you know there's no PGs. If you pay attention to your opponent's drive checks, she's your finisher. There's no way the opponent can survive an attack with 5 crits. Not without a PG. Not from this one.
Nope, that's not the only power that she would get. Remember that the deck gives more power than...
Exactly, because she will keep blasting like the stand trigger, the grade 2s, and that will just give her more and more and more power. And she'll have like 70,000 attack on her own with 5 crits, and that's before drive checks and before boosting and everything. And that's why you don't need anything else really. And one of the greatest things to come out of the set is the new G-Guard. This is Iris 2.0, sorta. She'll never replace Iris in my heart, never. But she is really good. She lets you pick up to 1 card of each grade from your drop zone and put them into your soul. If you put in 2 cards, she'll get +5. If you could put on 4 cards, she'll get an additional +10. So, with 2 cards, she's already as strong as Iris. And if you can put in 4, she becomes 1.5 times as strong as Iris. Which Genesis was lacking, was a dependable, strong G-Guard. Her only weakness compared to Iris is that she has to pick different grades. Which means she can't put 2 grade 0s or 2 grade 1s back into your soul, which Iris could. But in Regalia, this is perfect, because Regalia makes such a large drop zone that you'll have the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Actually, the most thing that you, when you play her, have to think about is the difference between Regalia and Fernrir is huge. With the Fernrir, sometimes you want to put 2 stand triggers or whatever in your soul. And with her, in Regalia, it doesn't really matter what you put back. And most situations, well, yeah, okay, you need the stand trigger and the grade 2.
But that's already 2 different cards.
Yep.
So that's why. Yeah, I'm really happy with her, and I like that she is like the grown-up form of the heal trigger. Really adorable. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the Regalia build.
All right. So what would you say? What are the real reasons that you want to play this deck? It's because you want to let people see that the deck deserves more, it's way stronger, or do you also just really enjoy playing the deck?
I really enjoy playing the deck. That is the main reason. I do think Regalia deserves a bit more respect than that it is getting, because it has been old, it has been outdated, but it's never really fallen out of viability, and it has gotten such a huge boost with all these cards. Yeah, I'm really happy with it, and it plays like a lot of fun. It's fresh, it's new, and it's not just ride and turn after an attack and just wait so you can get the striding. It starts to do things way earlier, and it's very flexible. I really like that.
Yeah, that's really nice from Bushiroad, actually, that because we're getting the new mechanic and everything, and people are hyping about that, we also got some of the sub-clans that now have a lot of regards that do a lot, and their Vanguard also, before striding. So actually we are getting the early game back, and I still think that even when we will get the new mechanic, that decks like Regalia would still be very strong and effective, and I hope that they will also get support later, that you could mix the decks. Like, it would be very cool if we will see a Minerva reprint and kind of the new skills, so that would be cool as well, because you could use that in this deck as well.
I would really love that, yeah.
So that's actually it. Stay tuned for the other video.
Yeah.
And also stay tuned for a match video if you really want to see this deck in action, because this deck is very, very, very scary. It's like the underdog from, let's say, Genesis now. I think that you could put this and put Witches, because Witches also really not that strong anymore. But yeah, this deck is so good. And the combos that you could do with this deck, you would say, well, yeah, they are very straightforward. Yeah, okay, they could be straightforward, but can you stop them? And that's the question.
That's the real question.
Alright, thanks guys for watching.
See you guys next time.
Ciao.
Crushing the meta.